Jesse Binga built a banking and real estate empire in early 1900s Chicago, becoming one of the most successful Black businessmen in American history. In 1923, a series of mysterious bombings targeted his properties and home, culminating in an arrest that many believe was orchestrated by his competitors. This episode explores the intersection of racial tension, financial power, and criminal justice in the Roaring Twenties. This case is Unresolved.
Jesse Binga was a visionary. He dared to dream big when opportunities were scarce for Black Americans. Rising from humble beginnings, Binga became a titan of industry in early 1900s Chicago. His story is one of resilience and economic empowerment. Binga's journey began in the South, where Jim Crow laws fueled his ambition. He sought opportunity in the North, particularly in Chicago. With grit and belief, Binga ventured north, seeking success. His journey became a testament to Black entrepreneurship and hope. The dawn of the 20th century witnessed a seismic shift in the American landscape. The Great Migration saw hundreds of thousands of Black Americans leaving the oppressive South in search of better lives. Chicago, with its booming industrial sector and promise of opportunity, became a prime destination for these migrants. As Black families poured into the city, they brought with them a vibrant culture, a strong work ethic, and a burning desire for a better future. However, the North, while offering a reprieve from the overt racism of the South, was not without its own set of challenges. Black migrants faced discrimination in housing, employment, and access to essential services. They were relegated to overcrowded neighborhoods, often denied fair wages, and systematically excluded from the city's centers of power. Despite these obstacles, Black Chicagoans persevered. They built their own communities, established their own businesses, and created a vibrant cultural scene that would come to define the city. Churches, social clubs, and newspapers became cornerstones of these burgeoning communities, providing spaces for connection, support, and the fostering of collective dreams. It was within this context of both challenge and resilience that Jesse Binga made his mark. He recognized the immense potential of this growing community, a community brimming with talent, ambition, and a thirst for economic empowerment. Binga saw beyond the prejudice and discrimination that sought to confine Black Chicagoans. He saw a people ready to claim their rightful place in the city's economic fabric. He understood that true freedom could only be achieved through financial independence, and he dedicated his life to equipping his community with the tools to achieve just that. Binga's vision extended beyond mere financial gain. He sought to create a legacy of Black ownership, a legacy that would inspire generations to come. His businesses became pillars of the community, providing not just financial services, but also a sense of hope and a tangible symbol of Black achievement. In a time when Black success was often met with suspicion and hostility, Binga's unwavering belief in his community served as a beacon of inspiration. Chicago's Black Belt was more than just a location. It was a testament to Black resilience, a thriving hub of businesses and culture. Jesse Binga's bank symbolized Black economic power, a place for Black families to secure loans and invest in their dreams. Binga's success challenged racial prejudice, but also made him a target of violence. His legacy inspires Black economic empowerment. The turn of the 20th century was a time of profound transformation in America. As the Industrial Revolution roared to life, cities in the North and Midwest hungered for labor. For Black Americans under Jim Crow, these cities promised opportunity, sparking the Great Migration. Over 1 million Black Southerners moved north between 1910 and 1930, seeking freedom and opportunity. They arrived in cities like Chicago, New York, and Detroit, forever altering the demographic landscape. Despite the challenges, Black migrants refused to be deterred. They carried within them a deep well of resilience, forged in the crucible of generations past. They understood that the fight for equality was a marathon, not a sprint. Within these burgeoning Black communities, a spirit of entrepreneurship began to flourish. Denied access to mainstream financial institutions, Black Americans created their own economic ecosystems. Black-owned businesses sprung up along bustling avenues. Barbershops and beauty salons became social hubs. Restaurants served up heaping plates of soul food. Newspapers like the Chicago Defender gave voice to the community. Churches played a pivotal role in fostering a sense of community. Pastors preached messages of hope and resilience. These Black enclaves pulsated with vibrant energy. Music spilled out onto the streets, where jazz and blues thrived. Dreams, though often deferred, refused to die. The year 1923 cast a long shadow over Chicago. The Roaring Twenties, with its jazz-filled air and economic boom, held a different tune for Jesse Binga. His success, once a point of pride, now felt like a beacon attracting unwanted attention. It began subtly, a series of unsettling incidents that sent ripples of unease through the Black community. Whispers of arson, threats delivered in the dead of night, and acts of vandalism targeting Binga's properties became impossible to ignore. The first bomb detonated on a sweltering July night, its blast shattering the quiet of the Black Belt. The target, a building Binga owned on South Park Avenue, housing several Black-owned businesses. The explosion ripped through the night, sending shards of glass and debris flying. Thankfully, no lives were lost, but the message was clear. Binga's success had made him a target. Fear, like a current, surged through the community. The bombing wasn't just an attack on Binga, it was an attack on their collective aspirations. Here was a man who had dared to reach for the American dream, only to be met with violence for his efforts. Many saw the bombing as a stark reminder of the precariousness of their hard-won gains. The police investigation was slow, almost lackadaisical. Some whispered that the authorities were indifferent to the plight of a Black businessman, their investigation lacking the urgency it deserved. Others saw a more sinister hand at play, suggesting complicity between those in power and those threatened by Binga's rise. Whatever the reason, the lack of immediate answers only fueled the growing sense of fear and uncertainty. The bombings continued, each one a hammer blow against the fragile peace of the Black Belt. Targets shifted from Binga's businesses to properties he sold to other Black families, expanding the circle of fear. The message was clear: any attempt by Black residents to climb the economic ladder, to own a piece of the American dream, would be met with brutal resistance. Bronzeville, the heart of Chicago's Black community, buzzed with rumors and speculation. Who was behind these cowardly attacks? Theories abounded, each more unsettling than the last. Some pointed fingers at white real estate agents who resented Binga's encroachment on their territory. Others whispered of organized crime, threatened by Binga's growing financial influence. Amidst the fear, a steely resolve began to take hold. The community, though shaken, refused to be cowed into submission. They understood that their collective future was inextricably linked to Binga's fate. If he could be brought down so easily, what hope did they have? They rallied around him, offering support and demanding justice. Churches became hubs for organizing, their pulpits ringing with calls for unity and defiance. The Chicago Defender, a powerful voice for Black Chicago, used its pages to denounce the bombings and demand a swift response from the authorities. Editorials thundered, calling for an end to the violence and a commitment to protecting the hard-won gains of the Black community. As the bombings escalated, so too did the pressure on the police. The eyes of the nation were now on Chicago, the city's reputation tarnished by racial violence. The investigation kicked into high gear, fueled by genuine concern and a desire to quell unrest. Then, in a stunning turn of events, Jesse Binga was arrested. The charge: embezzlement. The authorities alleged financial irregularities, painting Binga as a fraudster. The news of Binga's arrest sent shockwaves through Bronzeville. Many refused to believe the charges. The trial was a media spectacle, the courtroom packed with onlookers. The prosecution alleged financial impropriety, painting Binga as a reckless speculator. They pointed to his lavish lifestyle as evidence of ill-gotten gains. Binga's defense argued he was a victim of his own success, targeted for building an economic empire. They presented him as a visionary who created opportunities for his community. The charges were seen as a desperate attempt to silence a symbol of black empowerment. The courtroom crackled with tension as Jesse Binga's trial unfolded. Every day, the benches overflowed with spectators, a sea of faces reflecting the city's sharp racial divide. Black Chicago held its breath, their hopes pinned on the man who embodied their own dreams of economic independence. For them, this wasn't just a trial, it was a referendum on their collective aspirations. His lawyer, a fiery orator known for his tenacity, countered every allegation with vigor, picking apart the prosecution's case piece by piece. Outside the courtroom, the battle for public opinion raged on the front pages of Chicago's newspapers. The city's white-owned dailies, reflecting the prejudices of their readership, ran sensationalized headlines that screamed of Binga's alleged crimes. They published editorials questioning his integrity, their words dripping with thinly veiled racism. They portrayed him as a symbol of black ambition gone awry, a cautionary tale about the dangers of allowing black Americans to accumulate wealth and power. The black press, led by the formidable Chicago Defender, mounted a fierce counteroffensive. They denounced the charges against Binga as a blatant attempt to destroy a successful black man. They published articles detailing his contributions to the community, highlighting his philanthropy and his unwavering commitment to black upliftment. They urged their readers to see through the smokescreen of the prosecution's case and recognize the trial for what it truly was, a lynching by another name. The Defender's editorials, penned with righteous anger and unwavering conviction, resonated deeply within the black community. They galvanized support for Binga, turning him into a folk hero, a symbol of their own struggle against an unjust system. Donations poured in to help fund his legal defense, a testament to the collective spirit of a community determined to see justice served. The trial, played out against the backdrop of a racially charged media landscape, became a microcosm of the larger societal tensions gripping Chicago and the nation as a whole. It exposed the fault lines of race and class, highlighting the ways in which the legal system could be manipulated to uphold the status quo and punish those who dared to challenge it. After weeks of testimony, the fate of Jesse Binga rested in the hands of the jury. The all-white, all-male jury deliberated for days. The judge read the verdict, guilty. A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. Binga remained stoic as the judge handed down his sentence, 1 to 10 years in prison. The verdict sent shockwaves through black Chicago. For many, it felt like a punch to the gut. The man who embodied their dreams had been brought down by a rigged system. White-owned newspapers hailed the verdict as a victory for justice. They used Binga's conviction to reinforce racist stereotypes. The black community refused to accept the verdict. They organized protests and rallies, demanding justice for Binga. The Chicago Defender launched a campaign to appeal Binga's conviction. They published editorials exposing the racial bias in the trial. They called upon readers to support Binga. Despite the setback, black Chicago remained unbroken. Binga's trial served as a rallying cry. It fueled their determination to fight for equality. The story of Jesse Binga continues to resonate, a century after his heyday. His name evokes a complex legacy. To some, he remains a symbol of black excellence, a testament to the power of entrepreneurship. To others, his story serves as a cautionary tale. Binga's rise and fall played out against the backdrop of a rapidly changing America. His experiences serve as a stark reminder that the fight for racial and economic justice is an ongoing struggle. Binga's legacy is a testament to the power of resilience and the importance of community. His story continues to inspire generations to fight for their dreams and challenge the status quo. The lens of history provides valuable context for understanding the significance of Jesse Binga's life. Financial historians poring over archival records and analyzing the economic forces at play during Binga's time offer nuanced perspectives on his achievements and the challenges he faced. Jesse Binga was operating in an era of legalized discrimination, explains Dr. Kimberly Jones, a professor of African American history specializing in black business development. Redlining, discriminatory lending practices, and outright denial of services from white-owned banks were commonplace. For Binga to establish a bank and thrive in that environment is nothing short of remarkable. Historians also point to the role of the Great Migration in shaping the economic landscape of cities like Chicago. The influx of black Southerners created both opportunities and challenges, notes Dr. David Thompson, an economic historian focusing on urban development in the early 20th century. The demand for housing, goods, and services skyrocketed, creating a niche for black-owned businesses to fill. However, this economic growth was also met with resistance from white residents and business owners who saw this influx as a threat to their own livelihoods. Binga's story, viewed through this historical lens, highlights the intersection of race, economics, and power in America. His success, while celebrated within the black community, was viewed with suspicion and fear by many in the white establishment. His trial, historians argue, was less about financial impropriety and more about maintaining the racial and economic order. Jesse Binga's legacy extends far beyond the confines of early 20th century Chicago. His story continues to hold relevance in the 21st century, a time when conversations about racial equity, economic justice, and access to opportunity remain as urgent as ever. His experiences serve as a stark reminder of the systemic barriers that continue to impede the progress of Black Americans. Binga's story is a powerful reminder that talent and ambition know no color. The fact that we are still grappling with many of the same issues he faced a century ago speaks volumes about the slow pace of progress and the need for systemic change. Binga's life and work offer valuable lessons for contemporary entrepreneurs and community leaders. His unwavering belief in the power of Black ownership, his commitment to serving his community, and his courage in the face of adversity provide a roadmap for navigating the challenges of today's economic landscape. Binga's story is an inspiration to a new generation of Black entrepreneurs who are building businesses, creating wealth, and investing in their communities. His legacy reminds us that we have the power to create our own opportunities and build a more equitable future for ourselves and generations to come. Binga's story is a testament to the enduring power of hope and resilience. It is a story that deserves to be told and retold, not only to honor his legacy, but also to inspire future generations to continue the fight for a more just and equitable society. A legacy unsettled, parallels to modern discrimination. Jesse Binga's story, though rooted in the early 20th century, carries an unsettling familiarity in the 21st. The barriers he faced, systemic racism, discriminatory lending, and a biased justice system, echo today in the experiences of Black entrepreneurs. Systemic bias continues to hinder the economic mobility of Black Americans. Black-owned businesses today face an uphill battle for loans, often denied despite stellar credit or viable business plans. Institutions meant to foster growth often become gatekeepers, perpetuating disenfranchisement. A study found Black and Hispanic entrepreneurs were denied loans at higher rates than their white counterparts. This disparity in access to capital is deeply woven into lending practices. The legacy of redlining continues to cast a long shadow. Its impact is still felt today in disinvestment and a widening racial wealth gap. The parallels between Binga's experience and today are a sobering reminder that the struggle for economic justice is far from over. The fight for equal opportunity remains as relevant and urgent as ever. The color of capital redlining and its enduring impact. To fully grasp the weight of Binga's struggle and its modern-day echoes, one must delve into the insidious practice of redlining. This discriminatory system, born in the 1930s, systematically denied loans and other financial services to residents of neighborhoods deemed hazardous by federal agencies, a designation overwhelmingly applied to communities of color. Redlining wasn't just about denying mortgages. It choked off access to business loans, insurance, and other financial tools essential for economic advancement. The effects of this deliberate disinvestment were devastating and continue to reverberate today. Black neighborhoods, starved of capital, were left vulnerable to decay and decline. Without access to loans, residents struggled to buy homes, start businesses, or build wealth to pass down to future generations. This systematic denial of opportunity created a self-perpetuating cycle of poverty and disenfranchisement, its impact visible in the stark racial wealth gap that persists to this day. Even though redlining was outlawed decades ago, its legacy continues to shape the landscape of American cities. Many neighborhoods targeted by these discriminatory practices still bear the scars of disinvestment, struggling with limited access to financial services, lower property values, and a persistent cycle of poverty. The impact of redlining underscores the insidious nature of systemic racism, highlighting how policies designed to disadvantage specific groups can have lasting consequences that transcend generations. Understanding this historical context is crucial for addressing the racial wealth gap and creating a more equitable financial system. Simply outlawing discriminatory practices is not enough. It requires intentional efforts to dismantle the structures that perpetuate inequality and create opportunities for wealth building within marginalized communities. Beyond bricks and mortar, building a more equitable future. The fight for economic justice is about building a future where every individual has an equal opportunity to thrive. Jesse Binga's story illuminates a path forward. Supporting Black-owned businesses and investing in underserved communities is crucial. Addressing the racial wealth gap is essential. The wealth gap limits opportunities for millions. Policies promoting asset building and affordable housing are needed. Increasing access to affordable housing, providing down payment assistance programs, and supporting entrepreneurship through grants and microloans. Addressing unconscious bias in the financial sector is vital. Implicit bias training for loan officers, diversifying leadership within financial institutions, and implementing equitable lending practices are crucial. Supporting community development financial institutions can bridge the gap in access to capital. Economic justice is a moral imperative. Creating a society where everyone has a fair shot at success is about upholding equality and opportunity. Jesse Binga's legacy guides us towards a future where economic empowerment is a right. A legacy forged in resilience. Jesse Binga's story is a powerful testament to the enduring spirit of Black entrepreneurship. Despite unimaginable obstacles, he built an empire, brick by brick. His legacy serves as a beacon, illuminating progress and challenges in the fight for justice. Binga's descendants remind us of the human cost of discrimination. Their stories reflect the intergenerational impact of systemic barriers. My grandfather's story is a constant source of inspiration, says his great-granddaughter Sarah Jones. He taught us to strive for excellence and lift up our communities. Binga's story is a call to action for economic justice. It demands dismantling inequality and investing in marginalized communities. Only then can we honor his legacy and build a future of equal opportunity. The fight for economic justice is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires constant vigilance and a willingness to challenge the status quo. Jesse Binga's story, a testament to resilience and Black excellence, guides us toward a more equitable future.